You just got out of prison, thinking you're free. But out here, the real sentence begins. No one hires you. No one trusts you. Doors close in your face before you even get a chance to prove yourself. I know, because I lived it. I was desperate, out of options, and one step away from giving up. But I figured it out. And if you're an ex-con trying to get a job, you need to hear this. When I stepped out of prison, I thought I had a second chance. I thought the world had moved on, that maybe I could just slide back into life like I never left. But reality hit me fast. The first thing I needed? A job. I had rent to pay, food to buy, and most importantly, I didn't want to go back inside. So I did what everyone told me to do. I walked into businesses, filled out applications, and hoped for the best. The first place? A fast food restaurant. The manager looked at my application, saw the gap in my work history, and asked, "Where were you for the last 5 years?" I was honest. I was incarcerated, but I've changed. I just need a chance. He gave me a polite smile, said they'd be in touch. I never got a call back. The second place? A warehouse. The lady at the front desk didn't even look me in the eye. "We don't hire felons, sorry." It was the same story over and over. For weeks, I filled out applications, made phone calls, knocked on doors. Nothing. The hardest part wasn't just the rejection, it was the way people looked at me. Some saw me as dangerous. They assumed I was violent. Some saw me as lazy. Like I would steal from the register or not show up for work. Some just saw me as a mistake that couldn't be fixed. No matter how much I had changed, to the world, I was still just a convict. I remember sitting in my tiny apartment, staring at my phone, waiting for a call that never came. I started wondering, how am I supposed to move forward if no one gives me a shot? Am I just supposed to fail? Do they want me to go back to prison? Here's something no one told me before I got out: over 60% of ex-cons remain unemployed a year after their release. That's more than half of us. No wonder so many end up going back inside. Not because they want to, but because they have no other option. Landlords don't want to rent to felons. Employers don't want to hire felons. Some states even ban ex-cons from working certain jobs. So what the hell are we supposed to do? That's what I had to figure out. And after weeks of rejection, I finally did. After weeks of hitting brick walls, I had almost given up. My hope was running thin, and the frustration of being constantly rejected started to sink in. It felt like the world was just pushing me back into that cell, like they were saying I was never meant to escape the life I'd built behind bars. But I couldn't go back. I wouldn't. I had to figure this out. I remember one night, sitting alone in my room, just staring at the empty walls. I realized something. Just because I couldn't get a job the normal way didn't mean there weren't other options out there. There were people, businesses, places that didn't care about your criminal record. They cared about whether you showed up, whether you could work hard, whether you could be counted on. So, I started looking at the places most people wouldn't. I looked at small businesses, the kind that didn't do background checks, the ones where the boss was a real person and not some nameless HR rep. These businesses were often more willing to take a chance on you, especially if you could show that you were willing to work harder than anyone else. I went to a few local construction companies. I won't lie, I was nervous. They weren't my first choice, but the idea of doing hard, honest labor seemed better than begging for a shot at a fast food restaurant. I walked in with my head held high, no excuses, no shame. The manager looked me up and down, probably judging me from the moment I walked in. But I made my pitch. I told him I was ready to work, ready to prove myself. And I told him, straight up, I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for a chance. I'll work harder than anyone else you've got. To my surprise, he gave me a shot. No background check. No questions about my past. Just a handshake and a promise, show up on Monday, and let's see what you've got. That was it. That was the moment. I took that job, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to quit. I was sore, tired, and constantly questioned whether I could really keep this up. But I kept my word. I worked harder than I'd ever worked before. But that's the thing about people who are willing to take a chance on you, they'll see when you're putting in the effort. And once they do, they'll respect you for it. As I worked on that construction site, I realized something even more important. It's not just about the job. It's about building trust. Employers want to see that you can show up, do the work, and keep your word. If they see you're reliable, they'll start to care less about your past and more about what you can do for them in the future. And that's exactly what happened. I worked there for 6 months, and by the end of it, the owner offered me a promotion. I'd earned it. I'd earned their respect. But more importantly, I'd earned my own respect again. It wasn't an overnight success. It wasn't a magic fix. But it was progress. Real progress. But before we get to that, I want you to take a moment and think about this. What's stopping you? Is it the fear of rejection, or is it the fear of success? Whatever it is, you have to push through it, because you're capable of so much more than you think. And I'm going to show you exactly how to make that happen. Next up, let's talk about opportunities you might not have considered yet, jobs that don't just pay the bills, but set you up for a future that doesn't involve looking over your shoulder. I wish I could tell you that everything got easier after landing that first job. That once I had my foot in the door, the past stopped following me. But the truth? It never really goes away. 6 months into the construction job, I was making enough to keep a roof over my head and food on the table. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise, threw on my boots, and showed up ready to work. I thought I was proving myself. I thought I had finally escaped the shadow of my past. Then, one afternoon, I overheard 2 guys on the crew talking. You know he did time, right? For what? No idea. But you don't end up in prison for nothing. I kept working, pretending I didn't hear. But inside, I felt that old weight creeping back in. The weight of being watched. Judged. No matter how hard I worked, I was still just that guy who went to prison. A few days later, the boss pulled me aside. Said he'd been getting questions about my past. Told me straight up, I like you. You're one of my best guys. But some of the others aren't comfortable. It's causing problems. I knew what was coming next. I have to let you go. I didn't say anything. Just nodded, took off my gloves, and walked away. That's the thing no one tells you about life after prison. It's not just about getting a job. It's about keeping it. And sometimes, no matter how hard you work, your past catches up with you. I went home that night and just sat there. Staring at the walls. Thinking about all the things I could do. The things I used to do. It would have been easy to fall back into old habits. Make some quick money. Forget about trying to play by the rules. But then I thought about the first time I stepped out of those prison gates. The promise I made to myself. I wasn't going back. No matter what. So, I did something different. I stopped looking for a job. And started looking for a career. Getting fired from that construction job was a wake-up call. It forced me to see the truth. No matter how hard I worked, as long as someone else controlled my paycheck, I was never really free. At any moment, a whisper about my past could send me right back to square one. I was done letting other people decide my future. That's when I started looking at something different, working for myself. At first, I had no idea where to start. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have fancy skills. But I had hands that could work, a brain that could figure things out, and a past that had already taught me more about survival than any classroom ever could. So, I asked myself, what can I do that people will actually pay for? I thought about all the odd jobs I had done inside, fixing things, cleaning, moving heavy stuff, even cutting hair. Basic skills. But valuable. I started small. Really small. I took my last bit of cash and bought some cleaning supplies. Then, I went door to door, offering to clean garages, basements, and yards. Some people turned me away, but others, especially the older folks who didn't want to do the heavy lifting, gave me a shot. The first few jobs paid barely anything. But I wasn't just making money, I was making connections. One job turned into two. Two turned into four. Word started spreading. Then came the real break. One of my clients ran a property management company. He saw my work and offered me something bigger, cleaning and hauling junk out of rental properties after tenants moved out. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid way better than scrubbing garage floors. I went from struggling to find work, to having more work than I could handle alone. That's when I made another decision. I wasn't just going to work in this business. I was going to own it. I saved up and bought better equipment. Hired another guy who was also struggling to find work after getting out. Then another. Before I knew it, I wasn't just working for myself, I was providing jobs for others like me. And the best part? No one could fire me. That's when it hit me, this is the real way out. The system might keep shutting doors in our faces, but we don't have to beg to be let in. We can build our own. I never set out to be a business owner. In prison, I never imagined I'd be the one giving people jobs instead of begging for one. But once I got a taste of real freedom, the kind where no one could fire me, I knew there was no going back. Now, don't get me wrong. Running a business wasn't easy. At first, it was just me and two other guys, both ex-cons, working long days cleaning out abandoned apartments and hauling junk. We took whatever jobs we could find, scraping together just enough to keep the lights on. But then, something clicked. One night, I was scrolling through my phone, trying to figure out how the big guys did it. And I found the secret. The money wasn't just in the work. It was in the contracts. See, I had been hustling for one-off jobs, cleaning a garage here, hauling some furniture there. But the real money? It was in getting long-term contracts with property managers, landlords, and real estate companies. So, I made a list. Every real estate office, apartment complex, and property management company in the area. And then, I did something I never thought I'd do. I put on a suit. I walked into those offices, introduced myself, and pitched my company like it was the best damn thing on the market. Most people turned me away. Some wouldn't even shake my hand. But a few saw the work we had already done and gave us a shot. That's all we needed. Within 6 months, we had steady contracts. Instead of chasing work every week, jobs were coming to us. Instead of hoping someone would hire us, we were hiring others, ex-cons, guys trying to get back on their feet, just like we had. And that's when I realized, this is how we break the cycle. The system is designed to keep ex-cons struggling, begging for jobs, getting turned away, and eventually giving up. But the ones who make it, they don't wait for someone to save them. They build something for themselves. And if I could do it, with nothing but a mop, a truck, and a record, anyone can. I'll tell you about the moment I knew I had made it, the day a guy walked into my office, nervous, clutching his resume, telling me his story. A story just like mine. And the best part? I got to say the words no one had ever said to me. Welcome to the team. I'll never forget the day it all came full circle. I was in my office, my office, going through invoices when a guy walked in. Nervous. Fidgeting. Clutching a folded-up piece of paper that I knew was his resume. He looked just like I did when I got out. Hungry for a shot but already expecting a door to be slammed in his face. I heard you hire guys like me," he mumbled, not making eye contact. "Like you?" I asked, even though I already knew what he meant. He swallowed hard. "I just got out. Did 5 years. I just need someone to give me a chance." I leaned back, nodding. "What can you do?" "Anything," he said quickly. "I can clean, move heavy stuff, whatever you need. I won't cause trouble, I swear." He stopped himself. He was used to pleading. Used to rejection. I knew that feeling all too well. I reached across the desk and took his resume, barely glancing at it. I didn't need to see his work history, I needed to see if he was ready to work. "You start tomorrow," I said. He blinked. Like he didn't hear me right. "Wait, really?" "Yeah. 6 a.m. Bring work boots." His whole body sagged with relief. Like the weight of the world had just been lifted off him. "Man, I won't let you down." I smiled. "I know." As he walked out, I sat there for a moment, letting it sink in. I had been that guy. Standing in front of a desk, hoping someone would see past my record. And now, I was the one opening the door. That's when I knew, this wasn't just about making money anymore. It was about rewriting the rules. We don't have to wait for society to accept us. We don't have to beg for a seat at their table. We can build our own.